The starship Elysium glided silently through the inky void, its sleek hull reflecting the faint light of a distant sun. On the observation deck, Ambassador Elias Voss stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing out at the swirling nebula that marked the edge of Galactic Council space. The nebula's vibrant hues, crimson, gold, and deep violet, seemed almost alive, a fitting metaphor for the galaxy itself. Beautiful, chaotic, and unpredictable. Elias had always found solace in the stars, but today, they offered no comfort. Today, he carried the hopes of an entire species on his shoulders. Behind him, the soft hum of the ship's systems was interrupted by the sound of footsteps. Elias turned to see his aide, Lieutenant Mira Kell, approaching. Mira was young for her position, barely 30, but her sharp mind and unwavering dedication had earned her a place on this mission. Her dark hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her uniform bore the insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps. She held a data pad in one hand, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Ambassador," she began, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. "We've received confirmation from the Council. They've agreed to hear our proposal." Elias nodded, his face betraying none of the tension coiled within him. "Good. We've waited long enough for this moment. Humanity's voice will finally be heard." Mira hesitated, her fingers tightening around the data pad. "Sir, I've been reviewing the Council's history. Their records show centuries of conflict, alliances forged and broken, entire civilizations wiped out. They're not going to take our proposal lightly." "They won't," Elias agreed, his tone firm. "But that's precisely why we must try. If we don't, who will?" The Elysium emerged from hyperspace near the Council's central hub, a massive space station known as the Nexus. The station was a marvel of engineering, a sprawling metropolis of gleaming metal and pulsating energy fields. Ships of all shapes and sizes docked at its ports, representing species from across the galaxy. As the Elysium approached, Elias felt a pang of unease. The Nexus was a symbol of unity, but it was also a reminder of the galaxy's fractured past. The docking procedure was swift, and soon Elias and Mira found themselves in the heart of the Nexus, standing before the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. The chamber was a vast, circular room with towering walls adorned with holographic banners representing each member species. At the center of the room was a raised platform, where the Council's leaders sat in ornate chairs. Elias recognized them immediately. Chancellor Zorath of the Krell, a towering reptilian figure with scales that shimmered like molten gold. High Seer Lyra of the Venari, her ethereal form cloaked in flowing robes, and Grand Marshal the Los of the Zenther, a hulking insectoid with a carapace as black as space itself. Chancellor Zorath's voice boomed across the chamber, deep and resonant. "Ambassador Voss, you stand before the Galactic Council to present your proposal. Speak, and we shall listen." Elias stepped forward, his posture straight, his voice clear and unwavering. "Esteemed members of the Council, I come before you not as a representative of Earth alone, but as a voice for all who seek peace. Humanity proposes the creation of a universal peace accord, a binding agreement that would end the cycle of war and unite our galaxy under a common purpose: the preservation of life and the pursuit of prosperity." The chamber erupted in murmurs, the holographic banners flickering as the Council members exchanged glances. High Seer Lyra raised a slender hand, and silence fell. "Your words are noble, Ambassador, but they are also naive. The galaxy has known war for millennia. Peace is a fragile dream, easily shattered by ambition and greed." Elias met her gaze, his expression resolute. "With all due respect, High Seer, it is precisely because of our history that we must strive for peace. Humanity has learned from its own past, from the wars that nearly destroyed us. We believe that the galaxy can learn as well." Grand Marshal the Los leaned forward, his multifaceted eyes glinting. "And what of those who reject this peace? Will you force it upon them?" "No," Elias replied firmly. "Peace cannot be forced. It must be chosen. But those who choose violence must understand that they will face consequences. Humanity is prepared to defend itself and its allies, but our hope is that such measures will never be necessary. The debate that followed was heated, with council members arguing passionately for and against the proposal. The Krell, represented by Chancellor Zorith, were the most vocal opponents. "Your ideals are admirable, Ambassador," Zorith sneered. "But they are also weak. The galaxy respects strength, not empty promises." Elias felt a surge of frustration but kept his tone calm. "Strength is not measured by the ability to destroy, Chancellor, but by the courage to build. Humanity offers not just words, but action. We are willing to lead by example." When the vote was called, the result was devastating. The Universal Peace Accord was rejected by a wide margin, with only a handful of minor species siding with humanity. As the council members filed out of the chamber, Elias stood in silence, his heart heavy. Mira placed a hand on his arm, her voice soft. "We tried, sir. That's all we could do." Elias shook his head, his jaw tightening. "No, Mira. Trying isn't enough. Not when the stakes are this high." As they returned to the Elysium, Elias made a decision. He activated the ship's comm system and addressed the crew. "Set a course for Earth. We have work to do." The journey home was somber, the weight of failure pressing down on everyone aboard. But Elias refused to give in to despair. He spent hours in his quarters, reviewing data, drafting plans, and reaching out to Earth's leaders. Humanity would not abandon its ideals, even if the galaxy turned its back on them. When the Elysium finally entered Earth's orbit, Elias was greeted with a message from President Alara Chan, the leader of Earth's unified government. "Ambassador Voss," her voice crackled over the comm, "we've received your report. The Council's decision is a setback, but it is not the end. We are prepared to move forward with Project Aegis." Elias felt a flicker of hope. Project Aegis, a top-secret initiative to develop advanced defensive and offensive technologies, had been humanity's contingency plan. Now it was their only hope. As the Elysium descended through Earth's atmosphere, Elias looked out at the blue and green expanse below. This was their home, their sanctuary, and they would defend it at all costs. The galaxy had rejected peace, but humanity would show them the price of that rejection. The story was far from over. The Krell fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of locusts, their jagged ships blotting out the stars as they descended upon the human colony of New Horizon. The colony, a bustling hub of research and agriculture, was ill-prepared for an attack. Its defenses were minimal, its population unarmed. To the Krell, it was an easy target, a way to send a message to humanity. "Your ideals mean nothing in the face of our might." Aboard the Krell flagship, Dreadclaw, Warlord Krax stood on the command deck, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. His golden eyes gleamed with predatory satisfaction as he watched the colony grow larger on the viewscreen. "Pathetic," he growled, his voice a low rumble. "They build their little utopias, thinking they are safe. They will learn the price of their weakness." Beside him, his second-in-command, Commander Vrax, nodded in agreement. "The humans have no fleet, no weapons. This will be over before it begins." Krax's lips curled into a fanged smile. "Good. Let them beg for mercy. Let them understand what it means to defy the Krell." On the surface of New Horizon, panic spread like wildfire. The colony's governor, Dr. Alara Mendez, stood in the command center, her hands trembling as she stared at the incoming fleet. "We have to evacuate," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can't fight them." Her aide, a young man named Jace, shook his head. "There's no time. The Krell will be here in minutes." Alara's mind raced. She had always believed in humanity's ideals of peace, but now, faced with the reality of war, she felt helpless. "Is there nothing we can do?" she asked, her voice breaking. Before Jace could respond, the comm system crackled to life. A calm, authoritative voice filled the room. "This is Admiral Taryn Drake of the Earth Defense Fleet. Reinforcements are en route. Hold your position." Alara's heart leapt. "Reinforcements? But we don't have a fleet." The voice continued, unshaken. "You do now." In orbit, the Krell fleet prepared to unleash their assault. But as they moved into position, their sensors detected an anomaly. A ripple in space, like the calm before a storm. Krax frowned, his golden eyes narrowing. What is that? Before anyone could answer, the ripple exploded into a blinding flash of light. From the void emerged a fleet of sleek, silver ships, their hulls gleaming like polished steel. At their helm was the Eclipse, humanity's first warship, a marvel of engineering and firepower. Admiral Taryn Drake stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, her sharp eyes fixed on the Krell fleet. She was a woman of few words, her reputation built on decisive action and unyielding resolve. All ships, prepare for engagement, she ordered, her voice steady. Let's show them what humanity is made of. The battle began with a fury that shook the stars. The Krell, confident in their superiority, launched their first wave of attacks. But to their shock, their weapons had no effect. The human ships were protected by energy shields, their technology far beyond anything the Krell had encountered. Krax snarled, his claws digging into the armrests of his command chair. What is this trickery? On the Eclipse, Drake allowed herself a small smile. Activate the pulse cannons, she commanded. Target their lead ship. The pulse cannons fired, beams of concentrated energy slicing through the void. The Dreadclaw's shields buckled under the assault, its hull scorched and smoking. Krax roared in fury, his pride wounded. Return fire. Destroy them. But the Krell's attacks were futile. The human fleet moved with precision and coordination, their AI-driven systems outmaneuvering the Krell at every turn. One by one, the Krell ships were disabled, their crews forced to surrender or face annihilation. On the surface of New Horizon, Alara and Jace watched in awe as the human fleet turned the tide. I can't believe it, Jace whispered. We're winning. Alara felt a surge of pride, but also a pang of sorrow. This isn't what we wanted, she said softly. We offered them peace, and they chose war. In the aftermath of the battle, the Krell fleet lay in ruins. The Dreadclaw, crippled and adrift, was boarded by human forces. Krax, battered but defiant, was brought before Admiral Drake. He glared at her, his golden eyes burning with hatred. You think this changes anything? He spat. The galaxy will never accept your peace. Drake met his gaze, her expression unreadable. This was never about acceptance, she replied. It was about survival. You attacked us and we defended ourselves. But the offer of peace still stands. Krax laughed, a harsh, grating sound. You are fools. The galaxy respects strength, not mercy. Drake's eyes hardened. Then let this be a lesson. Humanity's strength lies not in our weapons, but in our unity. We will defend our ideals, no matter the cost. As the Krell prisoners were escorted away, Drake turned to her officers. Prepare a transmission to the Galactic Council, she ordered. Let them know what happened here. Let them see that humanity will not be cowed. The transmission was sent, its contents spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. The Council, once dismissive of humanity, now faced a stark reality. Earth was no longer a passive observer. It was a force to be reckoned with. On the Nexus, the Council convened an emergency session. High Seer Lyra, her ethereal form shimmering with unease, addressed the gathered leaders. We underestimated humanity, she admitted. Their technology, their resolve, they are not the weaklings we believed them to be. Chancellor Zorith, his golden scales dulled by defeat, growled in frustration. This changes nothing. We cannot allow them to threaten our way of life. Grand Marshal Velos, his insectoid features unreadable, spoke next. Perhaps it is time to reconsider their proposal. Peace may be preferable to annihilation. The debate raged on, but one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had shown its strength, and the Council could no longer ignore it. As the Eclipse returned to Earth, Admiral Drake stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. She felt no joy in their victory, only a grim determination. The road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but she knew one thing for certain. Humanity would not falter. The galaxy had rejected peace, But Earth had shown them the price of that rejection. And the story was far from over. The Krell homeworld loomed on the view screen of the eclipse, a barren orb of jagged mountains and scorched plains. Admiral Taryn Drake stood on the bridge, her sharp eyes scanning the planet's surface. The Krell had been pushed to the brink, their fleet decimated, their pride shattered. Now humanity stood at their doorstep, not as conquerors, but as enforcers of a new order. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Wren, her tactical officer, approached with a data pad. The Krell leadership has agreed to a ceasefire. They're requesting terms of surrender. Drake's expression remained stoic, but a flicker of relief passed through her. Good. Prepare a shuttle. I'll meet with them personally. The shuttle descended through the planet's thin atmosphere, its engines humming softly. Drake sat in silence, her mind racing. This was the moment humanity had been working toward, the culmination of their struggle. But it was also a moment fraught with peril. One misstep, one act of arrogance, and the fragile peace they sought could crumble. The shuttle landed in the heart of the Krell capital, a sprawling city of obsidian towers and winding streets. The air was thick with the scent of ash and metal, a testament to the Krell's harsh existence. Drake stepped out, flanked by a small security detail, and was met by a delegation of Krell officials. At their head was Warlord Krax, his once proud posture now hunched, his golden eyes dimmed by defeat. Admiral Drake, Krax growled, his voice low and gravelly. You come to gloat? Drake shook her head. I come to offer terms. Humanity has no desire to rule over you, Krax. We want peace. Krax sneered, his fangs bared. Peace? You destroy our fleet, blockade our world, and speak of peace. We defended ourselves, Drake replied, her tone firm but not unkind. You attacked us and we responded. But this doesn't have to be the end. The Universal Peace Accord still stands. Join us and we can rebuild the galaxy together. The Krell warlord stared at her, his expression unreadable. For a moment, Drake thought he might refuse, might lash out in a final act of defiance. But then, slowly, he nodded. We will consider your terms. The negotiations that followed were tense, each word weighed and measured. The Krell, proud and stubborn, resisted at every turn. But Drake held firm, her resolve unshakable. She offered them a chance to rebuild, to join the galaxy as equals rather than conquerors. It was a hard pill for the Krell to swallow, but in the end, they had no choice. As the terms were finalized, Drake received a transmission from Earth. President Alara Chen's face appeared on the screen, her expression a mix of relief and pride. Admiral Drake, she said, you've done what many thought impossible. The galaxy is watching. Drake nodded. The Krell have agreed to the peace accord. But this is just the beginning. The Council will resist, and there will be others who challenge us. Chen smiled. Then we'll face them together. Humanity has shown its strength, but it's our compassion that will define us. The transmission ended, and Drake turned her gaze to the stars. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time, she allowed herself a moment of hope. The galaxy had rejected peace, but humanity had shown them a better way. As the Eclipse prepared to leave the Krell homeworld, Drake stood on the observation deck, her mind at ease. The stars stretched out before her, infinite and uncharted. The story was far from over, but for now, they had taken the first step toward a brighter future. And that was enough.